Hey everybody, welcome back to Sounds Like a Drum, Cadence Independent Media Production. Today, something I've never ever done before, expanding the bass drum selection. This is going to be a little bit of an unusual episode for us because we're really not going to talk about tuning per se at all. We're talking about a setup that's become popular. It's not necessarily new, but it's become popular. I've seen it in a lot of situations. And what we're talking about basically is having a primary bass drum, having a secondary bass drum, and accessing the secondary one with a double bass pedal sort of used as an auxiliary to reach over and hit it. When I was kind of coming up and playing music in Seattle, there were a couple of guys that were doing drum and bass and jungle music there, KJ Saka, some other people that were using auxiliary bass drums, not exactly in this way. It was more of like a sound effect kind of bass drum, like maybe a long skinny one or something like that. I've seen Steve Jordan do that too. On the other hand, we have Stanton Moore, who's popularized the idea of a 20 or an 18 as a primary and kind of a jazz tuning, and then a big boomy like parade drum on the side. I've also seen Nate Smith doing that in some photos. Suffice to say, it's not an unusual thing. It makes the schlep a lot harder, but what we're here to do today is kind of see like what we can get out of it just in sort of like a jamming and playing context. Thanks so much to Skillshare for sponsoring today's episode and facilitating what we're doing here today. They are an online learning community of thousands of amazing lessons, courses, all sorts of different things. Tons of people on there already learning from what they have to offer. There's something for everybody on there. The first 1,000 people to follow the link below are going to receive a free trial of the Skillshare Premium membership today. It's going to basically give you access to everything that they have, and if you continue to go along with it, it's going to be less than $10 a month to have access to everything they have to offer. No matter where you're coming from, there's something on there for you. For the general people that seem to watch our channel, I feel like most of them are into music production, also maybe a little bit of marketing in there, maybe a little bit of like managing your online presence, things like that, maybe even web design. You know, I'm definitely managing my own stuff as far as that goes. A little bit of help there, a little bit of better knowledge, it goes a long way. Recently, I was checking out Creativity in Action, 10 Challenges to Make Ideas Happen. It's basically just a broader way of looking at how to get whatever it is that you want to do out into the world. Esteban Gast is a great host. It's super fun, and you're going to get a lot of information that's going to help you find just the path to bring the thing out that you want to make. It's really similar to how we started Sounds Like a Drum here. It was just a conversation one day that we had almost 3 years ago to the day. And just the inspiration to do that, you know, we're always looking for things that'll help us push forward to the next thing and make it as good as we possibly can. So please just hit up the link below, check it out for your free trial membership, look around, find something for you. It's going to be a blast. So first things first, let's hear how these are sounding kind of in context. So the goal here when I was setting them up was basically to get two dramatically different sounds, but that also kind of worked in concert with each other. I didn't want to have a totally dead, ported pop kick over here. I wanted something that had a little tone, but was definitely out of the range of that one, so that when they mix together, it still sounds like one drum set rather than a sound effect under one or the other of the pedals. Much like the Stanton rig, we have a vintage Gretsch 14x20 right here, which has full coated single ply heads on both sides. Over here, we have my big 24. Most people that are doing this are going even bigger to like a 26 or a 28, which is bananas. This is big enough. And it has a UV EQ4 on the batter side and then a single ply coated on the front. There's no muffling in either of these. There's a felt strip that's sort of built into these older Gretsches, which this one still has. So there's a little bit of resistance on the batter side here, but suffice to say, these are open sounds, they're resonant sounds, but the range that they're in is wildly different because of the size and also because of the tension. Now here's the sound of the two of them mixed together inside of a single groove. As you can see, you can treat one of them as the primary and the other as a secondary that just kind of peeks out here and there. There's a lot of other ways to use this too, but that was the first way that I thought of it, almost the way that sometimes people will use a synthetic sound on a pad or something like that to just intersperse and break up the sound. Now, another way that you can use this is to actually play them in different sections of a tune. Maybe you have your verse bass drum and your chorus bass drum. In the same way that we do that with two snares sometimes, you can have like a super high-pitched primary and a deep to the side, or vice versa, or the snom thing that we've been doing a lot recently. It's about kind of like having more than one kit, like beyond just changing one drum. Now, the more perilous side of this, or at least for me, what I thought was going to be the most perilous side of this, was just the physical setup. Because if you're used to just having your feet planted on two pedals and you don't ever move this way much, and you certainly don't move your right foot onto a different pedal. I mean, I think I've never done that before. I've had double bass pedals before, but that was the left foot. It goes up and down all the time for the hi-hat, so this is a really different feeling. Actually didn't really have to fight it that much, but this brings us to one setup thing that I wasn't expecting, which is that I've played this double pedal before. It's Ben's. It's at the studio here, Pearl Eliminator. When I sat down and played with my right foot on my regular pedal here and then brought my right foot onto the left side of the double pedal, it felt crazy. It didn't feel good at all. So I did what I guess I kind of expected I'd have to do, but it was more dramatic than I expected, which was making sure that this pedal, which is to say the slave side of the double, is set up to feel the same as the main pedal on the main bass drum. And that meant changing the spring tension. It meant actually changing the footboard height, just because my right foot is used to having it go lower. So I changed the footboard height, I changed the tension, I changed the beater shaft length even a little bit, just so that when I'm hopping in between them, I don't get surprised. The bottoming out of the plates of the pedals is the biggest one for me. Making sure that when it's compressed all the way to the head, that one of them isn't higher than the other. It's the same thing with the hi-hat too. I just like to have them all just level out at the same spot. Another unexpected thing that came up with this is that I wanted to just play downbeats on the big drum and then do everything else on the smaller drum, and I discovered that hopping in between them, the primary pedal here was still moving from the last time I struck it and then took my foot off. You know, if your foot's on it, then it's kind of stabilizing the whole thing. So at some tempos, the movement of the primary pedal when I was over on the other one was out of phase with when I went to stomp on it. I would go to stomp on it and it was down low and I actually wouldn't get a note out of the drum. So I would do that example again, but 5 BPM slower, and then the pedal would be in phase. These are setup issues. These are also just like getting used to how to do this kind of thing issues. I've noticed that some people that use a lot of bass drums, I'm thinking about Terry Bozzio and other people, for sure are setting up their pedals in a way that makes this sort of thing possible. It might be a shorter throw, tighter spring tension. It's all about experimentation and seeing what works for you, your body type, how high you sit, and also the way you're going to use this type of situation. We also discovered that we had some rattle coming from someplace, and it turned out that it was the primary side of the double pedal, which is attached to the auxiliary bass drum, not having a foot on it. The footboard was just rattling every time I'd hit it because the drum is resonating. So we ended up putting a sandbag on that. Not every pedal's going to do that. If you've had your pedal for a while, it might if things have gotten a little bit loose or something like that. But you're going to run into surprise ergonomic things, surprise noises, things like that. If you go for this, just be prepared to do a little bit of troubleshooting, make sure that you're getting the sound that you want and no kind of sounds that you don't want. I was surprised at the things that it made me want to do, and a lot of them I had to try a bunch of times to just figure out how to do it. And this is just more sort of creative pathways in your brain that you can check out, try out, and just kind of take you into a different way of thinking about the grooves that you already play, finding different tones, and also challenge your coordination, even just as simply as, having your right foot have a melodic opportunity and trying to integrate that into two bass drums where it's like, it's not 3 toms anymore, it's floor tom, kick, and then another kick. It's a whole new world. Whole new world. All right, that about wraps it up. Please like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell below so you get all of our updates of putting out more videos than we ever have before. This is going to be a crazy year. We're super excited about it. We're going to do more stuff like this, experimental things and DIY stuff. We've got a whole just raft of stuff like this planned. There's going to be more things over on the Patreon to view for this, playing examples, anecdotes, things like that. Thanks so much to Skillshare for sponsoring today's episode. Hit up the link below, check them out. So much great stuff over there, super fun. They're really helping us facilitate getting to do these episodes and give us things to be excited about as well. And lastly, if you're a two bass drums in this manner person, I'd love to know the tuning, the size, kind of music that you use it for, and also where you got the idea from. I feel like there will be a fair amount of Bozios there, but lots of people have done stuff like this. Yeah, so tell us your experiments, and we're going to keep them going here.